The World Tournament, aka the worst event that Dokkan has ever released. It's boring, tedious, and just an all-around bad experience. I've personally skipped the last 5 World Tournaments. Like, I'm sorry, but I value my time. Even though the rewards are good, they're just not good enough for the price. Like, my sanity is worth way more than 40 stones. But as much as I hate this event, there's some pretty interesting stuff to say about it. For example, did you know that in the World Tournament field, the character who picked the lowest number will move first, and the character who picked the highest number will move last? I for the longest time thought that this was completely random. So I was actually surprised to learn that this was based on the numbers you and your opponents chose, which is interesting and might actually save you some time in your next World Tournament grind. Another thing I didn't know about the World Tournament, and I'm not 100% sure about this one, but if this is true, it could potentially be huge. During my research, I stumbled upon this old Reddit post from 2016, where people were speculating on how the local groups were made. At first, I thought it was based on location, which didn't make much sense, so I just figured they were completely random. But this one guy did some tests across multiple World Tournaments and figured that it was probably based on the time you actually joined the World Tournament. So knowing that, it's obvious that the tryhards enter the World Tournament as soon as it's up, since like they're aiming for that rank 1, you know? This means the earlier you start the World Tournament, the higher the chances are that you'll be stuck with sweats, making it harder for you to get like a high local ranking. But like I said, I'm not sure if this is 100% true. I've seen multiple posts from different people saying that when they join the World Tournament at a later time, they usually have it easier getting like a higher local ranking. However, I've also seen some people say that while it's true, you could still possibly just be added into an already existing local group. So at the end, I guess it's still based on RNG. Nowadays, I really don't care about the World Tournament, so I might actually try to enter the next World Tournament a lot later and just see how it goes. I'm sure you've all heard how a higher team cost gives you more points in the World Tournament. Well, apparently that's false. According to Lotad, if you don't know him, he's one of those Dokkan sweats, or tryhards, however you want to call them, who actually grinds the World Tournament for that rank 1 spot, and he's succeeded multiple times on global. Like, being rank 1 once is already a big achievement, but doing it multiple times, yeah, that's just crazy. So people were curious about how he was able to do it, so he made a thread on Twitter explaining his strategy. Apparently, the enemies you face in the World Tournament are based on your team, meaning if you keep using the same team, you'll always be facing the same type of enemies given roughly the same amount of points. So he actually figured out that if you're already using a strong team with a decent amount of AoE units, you can just reroll the other characters on your team until you find the right combination that will give you the team that faces the enemies offering the most points. Crazy, right? If you're curious, this was the team with the best seed during the 49th World Tournament, and as far as I know, it probably still is. Now, the following facts are more like history lessons on past World Tournaments, because if you didn't know, the World Tournament used to be a lot worse. For example, and this is quite a recent one, there was a time where you needed to beat every multiplier one by one during every single World Tournament to unlock the last one. This was just unnecessary and added even more grind to an already grindy event. I'm glad that the last multiplier is now directly unlocked, just saves us so much time. But that's not the worst thing about the World Tournament. There was a point in time where players had to win the World Tournament 100 times just to get one SSR ticket. 100 times. Like, bro, I can't even get my 30 wins nowadays, and you're telling me that people used to run this thing 100 times for a single SSR ticket and with no AoE units? Sure, SSRs are still pretty rare at the time and hard to get, but I wouldn't even do it for an LR guaranteed ticket nowadays, so I respect the dedication players had at the time. Now, there were actually some World Tournaments with better rewards than others. For example, the 13th World Tournament gave some sort of Super Saiyan Goku item, which, if I'm not mistaken, was basically a guaranteed LR Super Saiyan Goku figurine directly delivered to your house. Honestly, this was probably worth the grind, since only the top 100 players were rewarded with one of those figurines. I don't know if this was like a limited edition run or something like that, but if it was, yeah, this was probably the only World Tournament ever worth grinding. The second one would probably be the one during the 2nd year anniversary, the 17th World Tournament. Simply because, unlike the previous World Tournaments, that one gave not only more stones than SSR tickets, but also Elder Kais, potential orbs, and a God Stone. I've got like a whole series dedicated to the history of this game, where I really explain in detail how crazy those rewards were at the time, but to summarize, potential orbs and Elder Kais were very rare at the time, and difficult to come by, so the amounts they gave were actually very good. And the God Stone, it gave you a free Dokkan Fest character, which is always good, especially with the easiest that came the same year, turning some of these characters into absolute absolute monsters. But the crazy part was that this wasn't the only Godstone they gave during that celebration. You also had your typical Godstone given as a lock-in bonus reward, plus the one from the World Tournament. So up until 2024, this was the only celebration ever to give multiple Godstones for free. There's also the 28th World Tournament that happened during the 4th year anniversary. The rewards weren't buffed like the 2nd year anniversary one, but they did bring back the end of Zigoku, who was given as a reward card during the 1st World Tournament, and at the same time gave him a Dokkan Awakening. He wasn't anything crazy, but still a cool trophy card nonetheless. Did you also know that some cards were only available as rewards during specific World Tournaments? Like, those cards are not obtainable anymore. Ajal Ub, who was given as a reward card during the 13th World Tournament on JP and the 11th World Tournament on Global. SR Tech Roshi, who was given as a reward card during the 1st World Tournament on both versions. SR Strength Ub, who was given as a reward card during the 1st World Tournament only on JP. And Int SR Goku was given out as a reward card during the 1st and 28th World Tournaments. Anyways, that's it for today. I obviously didn't cover everything, so if you've got some interesting facts about the World Tournament, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to check out this video.